All right, should we press record? Should we do this? Phil is, oh my lord, I'm forgetting who you are as a person.
Cold brew macchiato latte americano.
Iced tea, hot tea, milk tea, fruit tea. We're your hosts, Yvette Tan and
Mary Kim, and this is the Coffee or Tea Podcast.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the Coffee or Tea Podcast. This is Mary
and Yvette.
And we have a special guest with us today. This is episode 3. Today we have none other than Seungpil Phillip Han.
Well, thank you for having me here.
Phil Han is an education director, youth pastor at San Diego Calvary Korean Church. He is a SoCal native, born in Korea, raised in Orange County, and now he considers San Diego home. He's had many jobs in the past, and we're excited to talk about his experience in the career before he is in the one now, and also what led him to his calling. And so, without further ado, we introduce you to Phil Han.
Thanks for having me here. Well, again, my name is Philip, and yes, Seungpil is my Korean name. Well, Seungpil is actually, if you flip it around, it's Pearson, and actually it means victory. That's what my name means, victory.
Why didn't your parents name you Pearson instead of Seungpil?
Well, I'm not really sure about that. Yeah, but my Korean name is Han, last name Seungpil, Han Seungpil.
Well, we're really excited to have Phil as our second guest today. If you listened to the last episode, we had Esther Lee on. She's actually also one of our close friends, and Phil knows her really well too. But another fun fact, Phil is my significant other. And so if we ever break up, this will be a sad episode.
No, they can watch. It'll be a good episode.
It'll be a good episode.
It'll be a good memory of the time.
We will not break up. Please.
I hope not.
I'm really excited to have him because even though I know him personally, I know there's so much about his life that I've yet to know. And also I feel like he's gone through a lot of life experiences that not every Southern Californian Asian American has gone through.
I was reading through your notes and I was like, whoa, I have no experience in any of these, and I feel like you have a lot of experience in different types of backgrounds.
Right. Well, because our podcast is called Coffee or Tea, that's a question we have to ask every single one of our guests. We're actually recording later than we normally would.
It's like 8:15.
It's 8:15 p.m. right now.
A little too late for caffeine.
So we didn't get coffee or tea today. But if you had to choose one drink, what would be your preference?
Now?
Yeah.
Or in general.
In general.
Yeah, in general.
Well, times have changed, and I have to say I would choose coffee now. Yeah, I became a coffee person. I actually bought my own like pour over kind of style.
Oh, okay.
I would brew my own coffee every morning now.
Oh.
Yeah, I actually was very sensitive to caffeine, so I would avoid coffee.
Yeah.
And I actually would drink a lot more tea. Also. But after starting this new full-time position at my church right now, I have to wake up at 4:30 a.m. I really need caffeine every day to make it every day.
And I think you're still sensitive to caffeine.
I am. Actually, I slept late last night.
How late?
I slept like a 1.
Yeah.
And I had to wake up at 4-ish, 4:30, so that is pretty late for me.
Yeah, that hurts.
I mean, 1's pretty late for me, or so for you, that's even worse.
Yep.
It's funny because like when we're in college, like 1 o'clock is like
nothing.
It's like the start time for homework, studying, cramming. But now 1 o'clock is like unheard of for me. Yeah, it's just not
like
healthy.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah. But speaking of our past, can you tell us a little bit about where you're from? And I know that's kind of an open-ended question because you're from a lot of places.
Yeah.
But can you kind of break that down for us?
Yeah, I actually was born in Korea, Seoul. I lived there about 4 or 5 years, and then my parents, actually they were exploring where to move during that time, and they have chosen America, California more specifically, and actually we moved to Garden Grove, Orange County. Lived there actually most of my life until my high school years, where I moved to Irvine, still in Orange County, California. And I went to high school there, college there. I actually found a job there. So I lived there a good, I have to say, 10 years before I moved down here to San Diego, which, like you said, I count as home now.
Right. And I know you were only in Korea for 4 years, but is there like any memory of that time?
Yeah, I actually have a few memories.
I don't remember anything. I might have like one or two memories.
I have like glimpses of my surroundings, but that's it.
Sometimes I also wonder, like, when I look at photos, is that like transcribing memories into my mind that
are kind of not fake, but
like I didn't originally remember it, but because I saw the photo now, I feel like I remembered it.
Yeah, it's very possible.
But for the most part, I don't remember a lot in that time of my life.
For me, I think the memories because 4 years old, there's not much you can remember. Right. But the memories I do remember are the ones that I wanna say traumatized me, but there's some
kind of
emotion that's attached to it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, like another one was, I think I remember I wanted to know what fire felt like.
Oh my gosh.
And I actually touched fire and I have a scar here.
Oh wow.
Because don't do it.
Don't play with fire.
Don't touch fire.
Wow.
Yeah. So these are a few memories, and also another one. These are all scar memories.
Okay.
I actually have another scar that I still have till this day. But I remember walking to school, still like as 4 years old, walking to school, and I remember there was a stop sign, and it was bent over, it was broken.
Okay.
Low enough for me to like hit it. Yeah. And I remember telling myself, I'm gonna avoid it. But as I passed by, I somehow hit it. I don't get it. And there was a scar here, and right now I can't see it right now, but or maybe it's this arm. Maybe it's this arm. I forgot.
Wow.
Yeah, because I don't really.
Oh, I see it. It's on this.
Oh yeah, this one right here.
Wow.
That what?
Yeah, this one.
From 4 years old?
Yeah, 4 years old in Korea.
Wow.
So the memories I have in Korea, they're not much, but they're
all from trauma.
they're from like pain, all from pain. Yeah, exactly.
Wow. You came to San Diego because of school, and where we know that you're not talking about like undergrad. Can you kind of talk about like what brought you to San Diego? That might be a lot to answer, but
yeah. Well, as you just said in the beginning, I'm an education director and a youth pastor at actually a church called San Diego Calvary Korean Church. And I came here not for just any grad school, but I came for seminary. And seminary is a place where I personally got a call, like I had this desire to go into ministry, go into a position where I'm preaching, teaching the Bible. Yeah, I came down to study and to be trained and to learn to be this position as a pastor. It is a grad school. I still got a master's. I got an MDiv, Master's in Divinity. So it's a program that really does train you to become a pastor for local churches. But yes, I did not go into undergrad, into some Bible major or anything like that. Ever since we moved to America from Korea, my parents wanted me to be a doctor. Yeah.
No surprise.
Yeah, typical Asian, and it was like, doctor, lawyer, engineer, or maybe businessman too. One of those four, and they's like, doctor. And they told me that I was going to be a doctor ever since I was going to be little. I went to UC Irvine and actually majored in biology. And so I was on that pre-med track to be a doctor, but towards the end of my junior year, and it was more towards somewhere in my senior year where I decided like, maybe this isn't for me.
No extra 4 years plus 3 years.
So that's the thing. Because I've got this desire so late, I decided just to just finish instead of switching over to something completely different or related to ministry. Because I also felt bad.
Right.
My parents actually paid for my tuition, and I'm actually very, very, very thankful for that. I know many friends that graduate with debt college loans.
Right,
And
yeah.
so I know it's not easy for anyone. So first of all, I do want to say I'm very, very thankful. I look back now again, they did actually not just pay for my tuition, but they bought me a car.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's fresh,
Wow.
like new car. It's not even leased or anything. It's
Oh.
just, they just bought me a
Yeah.
car. Honda Civic, coupe.
Okay.
Coupe.
I don't know what that means.
Two-door car.
Oh,
Two-door.
okay.
Two-door. And so, I am very thankful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like as to kind of gear us back,
Yeah.
you mentioned that you were a bio major,
Yes.
right? And so what happened between graduating UC Irvine bio major to you coming to San Diego for seminary? There's a huge gap of time between that, right?
There is a huge gap of time in there. It's actually I would say 5 years difference from the moment I graduated, where I had that desire to go into ministry, but I actually shut it down because I was actually a little too scared to go into it because I was afraid of what my parents would think. Because my dad's not a Christian. Two, I was too unsure if I wanted to go into this position.
Right.
Every time I would ask a lot of my friends, actually I have a good amount of friends that went and became a pastor. And these people, I would message them, I'll call them, I'll eat lunch with them, and I'll ask them, like, how do you know? Like, how did you know you're going to be a pastor? And all they told me was, I just know. And that was so unhelpful. That doesn't help me. Yeah, thank you so much. Like, to be honest, I get it now. Like, oh, I know. But, like, it didn't help me in that time.
Yeah.
And so, you know what? I just decided to, like, shut it down. And I actually tried to become a farm tech. Because I had this, like, I graduated with this major. To be honest, I actually didn't do well my senior year. And I had to switch to a different major before I graduated.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I
To
switched to public health science.
Oh, no.
It was because the requirements were the same as bio, except for there was no physics.
Oh.
And I just had to take a few public health major courses, and I was able to graduate on time. So I was going for, maybe I'm going to go pharmacy, become a pharmacist. Yeah, it didn't work out. I didn't really like it. And so I just started working, just whatever. I didn't want to go and continue the science field, so I started working. I worked at Verizon. I actually worked at, I don't know if you heard of Creamistry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when they first opened their first store, I worked with them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I actually know the owners. After working in Creamistry, I don't know why I wanted to get into more health. I guess I was like, maybe public health. I want
Health.
Yeah, health. I was just thinking health, so I was like, maybe I should work for an acai bowl smoothie place. And I was an assistant manager there.
Oh, wow.
But because of my just experience in this field, my friend mom was opening up a Menchie's.
What's a
What is
Menchie's?
that?
Like a yogurt land.
Oh.
Like a yogurt land. And they just needed help just to help set up, and because of my experience and background, I was able to help set it up with them. So I helped them a lot in the beginning, but I actually quit all that because my family decided to start a business together. And this was a karaoke business, a Korean karaoke business.
That's so cool.
So it's not like your typical, like when I say karaoke, a lot of people think of this like a bar, and then there's this open stage where people come.
I grew up with Korean karaoke.
Yeah, Korean karaoke.
Get your own room.
Yeah, you get your own room. There's the echo in the mic.
Yeah.
You pick the song. You get a controller, and
Food is overpriced.
yeah, food is overpriced.
I miss that.
exactly.
I miss that.
Yeah, definitely. So it's in La Habra.
Yeah, shout out to the karaoke.
Okay, it's called Plus Karaoke. So go check it out. But we started that. I helped out in the beginning, and I was, of course, Korean, like just like your reaction. Korean karaoke is exciting, but this is like over like 3-4 years that has passed. I had actually a lot of conflict with my parents, especially my dad. I'm like, I quit, but my dad's like, okay, then get out of the house. So I actually
Oh my
lived
gosh.
in my car luckily it was the summer, so it wasn't cold or anything, but I slept in my car for 4 months. But out of those 4 months, I do have to say I'm very thankful for my friends who let me stay over at their house. The church that I was attending gave me a church key. So I actually open one of the doors and I get my sleeping bag and
Oh my gosh.
get the chairs together and we'll sleep on the chairs. It was a very interesting time.
Wow, so you went from graduating UCI, thinking you're going to go into pharmacy, worked in several different industries, and then ended up homeless,
Yes.
right? That's not a story you hear a lot nowadays.
I do have to say I'm very thankful. I like when we say homeless, I wasn't sleeping on the streets. I still had my car at least, and also I had a friend who worked at Paris Baguette, and I don't know if you know, but every night they donate bread.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but here and there he will sneak a few bread for
That's
me.
so good.
Yeah, so it's for me to eat the next day.
Yeah.
I would think of things like, oh man, 24 hours is having a 3-day free trial. So I will take advantage of that.
24-hour fitness?
24-hour fitness or LA Fitness, or I find all the free trials and
Yeah. You got resourceful.
yeah, use it for their showers.
Oh, that's
And
Wow,
so-
tips and
Wow,
tricks.
tips.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
whatever.
Of course, like, and those are the places where like you're not really allowed to park overnight at certain plazas, but 24, they're open 24, so maybe it's okay. It's normal to see a car there in the parking lot. So I will have to find tips and tricks to survive those 4 months. But I do have to say, I want to say one more thing. During those 4 months, I actually had about 6 weeks where I was invited and asked to help out for church retreats as a teacher or in praising. I play a few instruments and they needed a bassist, and so they asked me, can you help out? And I had a lot of time, and so yes. Why? Because it was free lodging and free food.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You said 6 weeks.
Yeah, about 6. So I went to like 6 different retreats that summer.
Wow.
That's a lot.
That's a lot of retreats. Yeah. So
Wow. So you were taken care of somehow, like
yeah,
like during that time, which is
I
really
was.
cool.
And at the same time, I'm also trying to get back on my feet, and I actually ended up finding a place to live in. I rented out half a living room. I paid $200 a
Wow,
month.
$200.
So cheap.
Yeah, and I survived and actually lived off on my own for about a year and a half. And during that time, I didn't really talk to my parents. My mom, here and there, behind the scenes. But during that time, I think I was holding a lot of grudge against my dad because of that event. But I remember one retreat. This is like 1 year later.
Yeah.
So next summer retreat, we had this event where we were talking about forgiveness. And at that moment, I didn't think I had any bitterness in me, but it just came up. And I realized I still had a lot of anger and bitterness towards my dad. And that was a moment where God was telling me to let go. Let go. Let go. And when I said, Lord, I give my anger and my bitterness to my dad towards you, it was very interesting because when I came back, I actually received a call from my mom and dad.
Wow.
And actually, during that time, I was looking for a new place to live. But because the people that I was living with were moving to LA, and I did not want to move to LA with them. And I was looking around my friends, and none of them had open space. And so I was like, oh man, am I going to live back in my car again? But actually, my parents called me and they're like, it's time for you to come back home, son. And so I was able to reconcile with my parents, especially my dad, and came back home. My heart to trust in the Lord has grown over the years. And so where the first time I had a lot of fear of my parents and I was too unsure, I think my confidence in God grew over these past through those trials, through those hardships, that it has grown, and even God's love has, I guess you could say, cast away my fear of my parents, of what they would think of me. So remember, I reconciled with my dad. I've been living in home for like now 6 months. And this desire came in, and I think I made that decision. I'm going to go towards this direction. I remember telling my dad. Remember, he's not a Christian. He's not a Christian. And oh man, he was not happy. He was not happy in the beginning. And it was hard, but I think he was a little more understanding. And so I wasn't kicked out immediately. He actually gave me time to just prepare, because I had to apply, I had to look for a place to go, find a place to live. But he gave me a few months. And so, and then that's how it happened where I'm here today.
I feel like that's a really amazing story of like God's provision. And I think over like just the past few years, I've been hearing a lot about people who really they didn't have the means for things, and they were like, okay, I'm just gonna trust God with this, and then they got the exact amount that they needed. So,
and we're not endorsing prosperity gospel. Let's be clear there. This is not prosperity gospel. We don't believe that God will give you like everything you think you need. God will give you exactly what you need, right, and what He knows that you need.
I really believe God does not call you and then He calls you and He gives you the resource to accomplish that.
Right.
Even my seminary journey, finding a school, He really provided. I got a lot of scholarships, got a lot of financial help. I even found a place, like they actually just built the apartments at my school at a very affordable price in San Diego.
Mary showed me pictures and they looked really nice.
I think they were considered like luxury apartments. And so I was one of the first few people to get into these apartments, and God really did provide financially, a place for me to live, enough to eat, church to serve, and so I'm very thankful. Yes, God does truly provide.
What advice would you give to someone who is questioning their calls right now, specifically about pastoral ministry? A lot of people in this day and age feel like they're called for pastoral ministry, but they don't really know what it means, and so what direction to go. Yeah.
That's good. I really do want to help out any of those who are listening to this that does have that desire. I think one thing that we already kind of talked about is God's provision, and just having that trust in that. Now, just like you said, I'm not preaching prosperity. I'm not saying He will give you everything. Like even when I was homeless, there were days that I didn't eat. But I look back, and even I'm very grateful for those days. It made me lean and trust in the Lord every single day, because I didn't know if I was going to survive the next month. Actually, even in seminary, every single month I was like, man, how am I going to get through next month? How am I going to get through next month? And it made me depend and trust in the Lord even more. There's a thing called God's timing. We always want to work things out in our own timing. And sometimes we even look at this American dream, and we like, you gotta go to school, you go to college, you get a job, you get married, you buy a house, you get kids, you buy a dog. Like there's this path that everyone's supposed to go to. But you know, one thing I do want to let people know is our God is sovereign. That means God is in control. He has a plan and a purpose for our lives. And when you do have confidence in the Lord, you understand that not everything needs to go your way at that time. I remember in the book of James, chapter 1, it tells us to count it all as joy when you meet trials of various kinds. And you know, what God is trying to do is He's not here to make all your circumstances well. But instead, He wants to help you become well in all circumstances. And I think if I were to just go into ministry when I had that desire when I was a senior, I personally don't think I was ready. I think I had a lot of idols in my heart that I had to root out first. I think there's things in my life that I need to clarify before I could go into this. God is in control, and that He does have a plan for each and every one of us. And sometimes I think some of us just have to go through those trials in life to see how good and faithful God is in your life. I want to encourage those who have that desire, who's unsure, to first, before even thinking about what you need to do for God, build this relationship with your God, your Heavenly Father. Know that He loves you. Know that you can trust in Him. Know that He is faithful. And I think the way to know this God more is by digging deeper into God's Word. And by doing that, I think the more you come to know who God is, the more you come to know who you are. And the more you come to know who you are, I think it clarifies your path of where God wants you to be.
I just feel like I heard a sermon.
Oh, yeah, basically.
Right? It felt like I just went through a Sunday service right now.
Kind of going off what you just said, what do you think you learned about yourself during those 4 to 5 years?
One thing that I was clear after those 4 or 5 years was my identity in Christ. I was like, there's this confidence, there's this certainty that I had when I was like, I want to go become a pastor.
Yeah.
And that wasn't just like, I know that I'm going to be a pastor. It's like, I know who I am in Jesus. I just know I'm His child. I'm deeply loved. And I know no matter what decision I choose, I just feel safe. Even if people mock me or I go a path that may be dangerous, I still feel like confident in my God. So that certainty, that identity in Christ is what I guess gave me that edge to step forward into my calling.
And do you feel like that certainty stayed with you even through now, like that, I guess, the strength of the certainty?
Yeah, I actually would highly encourage anyone, even if you're unsure, to even go to seminary. And even, I don't want to say get a job at a church, but I would say intern at a church. Because I do see those going to seminary and interning at a church as testing periods.
Right.
Because you may have this strong desire, maybe you see the joys and excitement of church and of ministry, and you're like, man, this is what I want to do. Because you see so much fruit, you see the good things in ministry. But I've seen a lot of people who go into ministry and they kind of fail or burn out, and they're like, maybe they switch routes and maybe this isn't for me. And to be honest, looking back, I don't think that's a bad thing itself. I do have to say that maybe you shouldn't be in a position where you have all this authority, but like I said, an internship or go into seminary, because it is challenging. Seminary is also called cemetery.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
I don't know if you could see, but these are all my books, and these are only like a quarter of what I have. There's a lot of readings that goes into this. There's a lot of studying. There's a lot of essays and exams. For me, while I was studying, it actually made me more sure throughout this testing period. But I will have to say, really, this isn't for anybody.
Right, for sure.
And I want to encourage them to go to seminary and actually maybe see, man, is this something that I really wanted to do?
Right.
Yeah.
I know we talked for quite a while, but when we talk about seminary, obviously we're talking specifically about Phil's experience going through seminary to become a pastor.
Yes.
But not everyone who goes to seminary becomes a pastor. I have a coworker who went to seminary. And he does engineering. And so I think a lot of times seminary is a resource for us to know God better, right? Because there's so many great teachers, so many great books, resources that we would never have had on our own. I would say a majority of people who go into seminary often want to work in some kind of form of ministry.
I believe that everyone should get some sort of education, some kind of training in some form. If you are able to go into seminary, you're right, not everyone who goes into seminary has to become a pastor.
Right.
I have friends who go because they want to learn more, so they could better serve and teach the church. And so, I would recommend everyone, if you have that opportunity to go
Right.
and learn. Go and you don't have to do a Master of Divinity, what I did. That's
Right.
like a 4-year track, 4-year track. You can do, there's many different opportunities, MA, which in some degree programs are like a year, year and a half, 2 years. But I think it's great for everyone to have.
Could you also maybe explain, or what would you say is a call to ministry, or what does that mean?
I do believe in the Bible, it does set apart certain people for certain positions. And that one of them is, I would say, pastor. I think not just anyone can be in this pastor teaching position. Actually, in the book of James, it tells us not many of you should be teachers in this way as a pastor. People can still teach, but it's not in this specific way as a pastor, as an elder. I'll split into 2 sections, internal and external. Internal is kind of what I kind of said as I was sharing my testimony. You have this internal desire. Oh man, I think I want to go into this ministry. You have these thoughts, you have the desire to go into this ministry. Now, I want to also add to that, external calling, which is when your church recognizes and confirms your calling. Because I do believe a lot of people can say, I want to go into pastoral ministry. They see the good part and I think I could do this. And maybe you do have some skills, but man, your elders or your pastor sees you and it's maybe this isn't for you. Or not just in terms of maybe because of character, or maybe because of gifting too. It's I don't think you have the gifts for it. I don't think God, maybe in this other role. So I think you need both. It could be the opposite, where people's hey, I think you have this gift, but if you don't have a desire, maybe you should pray about it, but if you still don't, then maybe it isn't for you. And so you do need that internal desire, but also be affirmed and confirmed by, especially the leaders of your church, the elders, the pastors, to see if you really do have the gifting and to see if you're really called into that. So I would briefly just say into those two. I actually would recommend, I actually have a book right here. It's actually called Call to Ministry. Call to Ministry.
Can you say who it's by in case?
Ed Clowney.
Edmund Clowney.
Yep. If this is a great, it's a short book. Don't worry, it's not too long. Actually, it's very clear in terms of this calling towards ministry, apart from just calling to serve.
We'll make sure to link that for our video. So if you guys want to read Edmund Clowney's book, Call to Ministry, we'll have that linked. Not sponsored. Well, I feel like we've learned so much about not just ministry and your specific experience, but also what other people who are interested in ministry can take out of it too. There's so much good stuff that came out of this episode. But before we close things out, I feel like we should get to know you outside of your
occupation.
You are not just Pastor Phil, but you are Seungpil Han. And so let's get to know Seungpil.
Okay.
Philip with 2 L's.
2 L's.
Yeah, not 1 L.
You're giving away a lot of personal information.
So obviously you mentioned that you were born in Korea. And that you moved to Orange County and now you live in San Diego. But as San Diegans, we need to ask you, what city do you like better? San Diego or all of Orange County?
Well, here's the thing. First of all, I feel like I already answered this in the beginning. But I do have to say to all my OC friends, I miss them so much.
Okay, whatever.
That's where I grew up. That's where I met my close friends, and also Korean food. You can't beat Korean food in Orange County, LA.
You're not wrong.
San Diego, it has everything else except Korean food.
The best Korean food was at Calvary.
This church. Please come out to Calvary. Well, we don't have food right now because of COVID. But once we're all vaccinated, we start food again. I think Calvary Korean Church has the best Korean food.
We can vouch
Period. But in San Diego, as I got to explore this place. I see the beauty of this place, and we have a mutual friend whose dad is in a big like TV station that worked for a big Korean TV station.
Oh yeah.
And his dad traveled the whole world making documentaries for the channel. And he said if he were to retire and settle down, he will settle down in two places. One, Cape Town, South Africa.
Oh,
It's a beautiful
did not,
weather.
Expect that, yeah.
Yeah, very beautiful weather, and San Diego, California.
Oh,
Come on,
So-
somebody!
Yeah, so I have to say the weather is beautiful, and right now I actually live in Point Loma, which is right by
Wow.
the beach.
Oh.
like I've lived here my entire life, but I can't say that I live next to
Yeah, so I have to say San Diego is a very beautiful place, and I love the cultures that it has. And the
But which one do you like better? Don't tell us.
You
what-
have to choose.
Yeah, pick one.
Can't you tell like what?
I cannot tell.
You have to say it straight.
Okay, San Diego is better. San Diego is better. San Diego's better.
Yes, if you haven't noticed already from this podcast, Yvette and I love San Diego.
We're biased.
It's not biased, it's fact.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're not wrong. The only thing is the Korean food.
Oh,
That's
yes.
the only thing.
But you know what? I would say every other ethnic food is pretty good here.
I think they're all pretty good. It's just they're better in LA.
Okay,
If it's
okay.
Asian.
Yes, but in LA there's traffic.
But it's
quality
still
is bad.
like quite good here. So
Yes,
it's okay.
like you will not be super sad.
Yeah, you will not even be sad.
Yeah, you'll be
just
content.
Yeah, you'll be quite content.
Right.
That's
Mexican, Italian, we got good coffee. Our Japanese food's pretty good.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great actually.
Do you have a favorite cuisine?
I don't know. I love Korean food, so.
Fair.
Okay.
Like, I grew up with it, you know. Like to be honest, like it's called like 손맛, like your
Hand.
mother's hand, like taste.
Well, it's
your
not
mother.
mother, but it's
I know,
like
it's
the
like the hand
hand
feel.
taste. Because
Taste.
it's like when you make food with your hands, like whether it's pasta noodles or
Yeah.
like cookie dough or something, that the taste of effort and
Yeah.
all natural home cooked
Yeah.
food.
I know. I can even like picture it because it's
Yeah.
always like the Koreans will like use their hands to mix everything.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
And it looks so good.
Yeah.
I actually grew up every time the few times my grandparents would come visit, we will actually make dumplings together.
Aw.
Wow.
And so I have the memories of like just mixing all the inside, the meats,
Wow.
Yeah.
and then putting it all together, and
Yeah.
man, it's so good.
Wow.
It's so
Wow.
good. And I miss that. I
Yeah.
miss that. And I don't get that in any restaurant. No, I
You gotta learn.
I could get it in the restaurants in LA. The Korean food there. It's like, oh, there's this taste that's so familiar
You
that
guys
feels
gotta
home.
take me.
So maybe
Take
next
me.
time Phil comes on our podcast, we'll do it from a
From
restaurant.
LA.
In a restaurant.
In a restaurant.
With a
They'll be
mukbang.
like, what are they
With
doing
a
here?
mukbang or something like that.
Oh, I'm down.
Stay tuned.
But I've been watching 2 Days, 1 Night, that traveling variety show in Korea, and every time I see the food, I'm like, holy moly! I want to try this, but like, it's not. You can't find that here.
You can't find that.
I don't
here.
even know if you could find some of it in LA either. It's
I
very
think-
regional.
Okay, but as a Korean American who has gone to Korea very frequently, I've gone almost every year.
Mhm.
A lot of people say that sometimes Korean food is better in LA than in Korea.
Really interesting.
I actually have a cousin who came to America for the first time a few years back,
Mhm.
and she admits the food. Some of the Korean restaurants here is better than the Korean restaurant in Korea.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
Because K-Town in America is basically Korea.
Yeah.
Like, you can survive in K-Town without English, I think.
Yeah.
So, I
It's,
understand.
it's interesting. I've
Yeah.
heard things like that for like. I heard in Vancouver the dim sum or the Hong Kong food's even better than in Hong Kong. So I wonder if it's like kind of maybe the same concept. Like, just like
Probably.
immigrants coming and bringing
Yeah.
their crafts.
In OC, there is actually a region where basically all the Koreans live in, and there's a high school called Sunny Hills High School.
Sunny Hills.
Sunny Hills.
And I don't know it now, okay, that's why I'm
Maybe the demographic changed.
It's been a while since I graduated high school.
Yeah.
But when I was in high school, when I heard of Sunny Hills, around 90% of the students were Korean.
Wow.
90%.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, 90% of the students were Korean.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, that's really crazy. That's really crazy.
I feel like I wouldn't have liked that.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It'd just be really different.
Yeah.
Like, you would have just grown up in it.
Yeah, like, because
Yeah.
for Yvette and I, we grew up in a pretty...
Not necessarily
white?
like, majority white with quite some diversity.
I always explain the way, and it's different now, obviously. You know, times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
But I always explain the way Yvette and I grew up as a Disney Channel life,
Oh, yeah.
where, you know, in Disney Channel TV shows, the main characters are always white.
Yeah.
And then there's the token Asian friend.
Yes.
There's the token black friend.
Yes.
And there's a couple Mexican friends
Yeah.
who only speak Spanish for some reason. Like, that was kind of our high school experience.
A little bit.
And it was, I mean, we survived.
Yeah, we
obviously.
tried.
We didn't feel as much of the racism because we did have each other.
And we had a lot of Asian Americans
Right.
around us also
But,
having the same experience.
I'm sure it's different now, but
Yeah.
And that's very interesting because for me, I went to Irvine High School, and I had to say Irvine High School was pretty diverse, but there were enough Koreans, and I want to say there's second gen Koreans that was born here, raised here, and also 1.5. They went to elementary in Korea and they came here when they were like 4th, 5th grade. Actually, there were enough 1.5 Koreans
That you would hang out with
for
them.
me to hang out with.
Oh.
Yeah, so and during my high school years, I would only hang out with the 1.5 generation Koreans.
Did you guys
Yeah.
speak in Korean to each other?
So actually, my Korean was a lot better back then.
Oh, no.
We actually had Korean as a foreign language at school.
Oh.
And so I had to study for the SAT Korean too, and
Oh.
my life was just filled with Korean drama, variety shows, Korean pop songs. Like I was in the moment during that time. So yeah, well, that started my karaoke life too. Yeah, going to Korean karaoke.
We can't say that about the way we were raised.
Yeah,
No.
that's so different.
No.
But
But
all the Asians kind of hung out
Right.
with each other.
right. Phil, we had a really great time talking
we had
to
a
you.
really great time.
Yeah. It's quite late. It's
we should let you go.
it's been like an hour and a half at this point.
Well, we started at 8:15. So
Okay,
it's
it's an hour. Yeah. We really appreciated having you here today.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And hopefully when this season 1 comes out, you can share it with your friends.
And
And
then become famous.
yeah, and just
No.
and who knows, maybe John Piper will see it, David Platt
No,
will
no,
see
no,
it.
no.
These are all names of famous pastors.
I'm happy
No
to be
pressure.
a small time pastor, being just faithful with what I'm.
Until he gets the call from
No,
John
no,
Piper.
No.
We're kidding. But yes, we really appreciate having you. We hope we can have you back maybe in a future season.
Please come back.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe you'll have even more adventures and stories to share at that point. So Yvette, I think this is our time to sign off. We'll see you guys in the next episode
Bye, everyone.
for our next special guest.
You'll see who that is next episode.
See you then. Goodbye.